reasonable relationship that we all should respect, continue to respect, until we have a permanent solution, until we have a two-state solution.
Thank you. We'll have, I think, tomorrow President Herzog from Israel here. You mentioned, we talked about the Oslo Accords, and I know from my experience, of course, some of the issues you mentioned, but help us understand, is there any dialogue whatsoever, for example, between Palestinian officials and Israeli officials? What does it, if so, what does it actually look like?
There have been very limited dialogue, especially after October 7. The Israeli decided to stop all kinds of relationship and took several actions, including issues to do with the financial aspects that I mentioned earlier. They have also, among other things, sent back about 200,000 workers who used to work in Israeli companies in the past and provide very important income for their families in the West Bank. They've also stopped these people from going to work and basically made an escalation of activities in terms of settlement and settler terrorism and violence. They have spread many checkpoints throughout the West Bank. According to the UN estimates, the number is perhaps about 1,000 checkpoints within the West Bank to control movement within the West Bank, making doing business extremely difficult. So they are doing equally challenging and dangerous to that they're doing also in Gaza. So in Gaza, we have seen the planes, we have seen the military actions on the ground. In the West Bank, they're doing it in a different way. No dialogue, stopping our money, stopping our workers, basically giving free hand for the settlers. They invaded our refugee camps in the West Bank, especially in Jenin and Tulkarem, displaced our people from their homes, destroyed many homes. According to the United Nations, more than 40,000 people in these three refugee camps in Gaza, in Jenin, in the West Bank, have been displaced now for almost a year without being back to their homes. Their kids without schools. We have to find temporary shelter for them in the West Bank. But the West Bank also has been going through a lot of difficulties. So the world has probably seen a lot of images coming out of Gaza, but much less scenes from the West Bank. But believe me, American, you know the place very well. It's very sad to see the West Bank got to the point where people are barely making it. So I again hope that the international effort on Gaza is very important and badly needed, but we also need equal attention to what's happening in the West Bank.
Thank you. You mentioned earlier some of the reforms that you're making, and then if through previous dialogues that are public, for example, with some of the Israeli officials, they would say that they would point to the need for reforms or others. Help us understand what your priorities are on the reform agenda, and particularly on the economic front. But of course, there is also the security dimension. So we've heard that, of course, efforts should be made, some would say, on the security dimension in terms of reform.
Sure. Look, I mean, in terms of reform, we believe that proper institutions, well-functioning institutions, transparent institutions is the best thing you can have for any country. And in our case, it's even more important because the kind of challenges we have, we cannot deal with it. We cannot continue to sustain our efforts without proper institutions. So we take the issue of reforms at heart. We believe it's the right thing to do. We need to continue to work on it. And from day one, when I assumed office, we formed a special ministerial committee to develop a detailed program for reforms. When we consulted with our partners in the EU, actually also with the previous US administration, when we started this at the time of the Biden administration, but we also with the World Bank and, of course, with the EU. So we have developed since then a very detailed reform program. We developed a detailed metrics under 4 major pillars to do with financial management and sustainability as a first pillar. Second, institutions reform, consolidation, transparency, anti-corruption, etc. And third, law and order, justice system, etc. And fourth, basic services and the need to modernize the provision of services to the people, make it more transparent, make it easier, less costly, etc. So a very comprehensive program. Under these 4 pillars, we have identified a matrix of 60 different items. And we have put a timetable for this, and we are producing annual reports on the progress we made. 2 weeks ago, we have produced the report covering the period, the last second half of 25. And we shared this with our partners, especially with the EU and the World Bank. And I'm pleased to tell you that more than half of the reform items, more than half, have been completed 100%. And we are actually ahead of schedule in terms of implementing this reform agenda. I'm pleased to tell you that all international partners recognize the progress we're making on the reforms, and we hope that this reform will be empowered and supported. Because, let's face it, you cannot do reform under these conditions normally. We're really doing extra effort to show people that we're serious about this, and we also want to take away any excuses from anyone who wants to say, you will not get your national independence until you reform this or that. So we want to take away all these excuses, but we also want to strengthen our institutions. So I want to tell you that reforms are important. Reforms are good for us. We're committed to continue to implement our reform agenda, but we also expect Israel to do its part. Because without proper enabling, let's put it this way, these efforts will go nowhere. It's hard to reform when your employees do not get paid because the Israeli withholding the money. You cannot reform when people cannot move to go to their work because there's 1,000 checkpoints spread around the West Bank. You cannot do reform when basically all the banking system is being subjected to a very systemic effort to make it collapse. This is a banking system that we built it the hard way under the supervision of international organizations. The Palestinian Monetary Authority is a very good institution regulating the banking system. The IMF visit and check on what we have. We have an anti-money laundering law that we're very proud of. We work very closely with the US Treasury. We work very closely with the UK Treasury. We are open to anyone who wants to look at our systems and make sure that we are implementing the international best practice when it comes to transparency and anti-corruption and the banking system. So we will continue with reforms, but we also want the international community to help us with Israel doing their part.
Thank you. And I would like to, I know we are almost out of time, but just to finish with the economy, because you are not only the Prime Minister, but also someone who's really been a thought leader, and you've been playing such a pivotal role in the Palestinian economy over the years. Is this the biggest crisis, economic crisis? If I take, for example, the West Bank economy only, is it the biggest economic crisis we've seen in a while?
It is, by far. During the last 2 years, since the war in Gaza, the economy, according to the World Bank statistics, the economy have contracted by 30%. So GDP has contracted by 30%. It's never before. Second, unemployment was about 15% in the West Bank before the war. In the West Bank, it is about 34% today. Gaza, 85% unemployment. So the average Palestinian unemployment rate now is 51%. Obviously, the budget deficit has increased because the fact that Israel is withholding our money. Our private sector which I would like to salute and convey every possible appreciation and gratitude for their resilience and their hard work and commitment to their country, have also been a strong partner in all of this, but also continue to play a role, but they also have been affected by all of this. So every aspect of our lives have been affected by this. But I want to assure you, Merrick, and everybody else, that our people is resilient, and our people will get out of this strong. It's painful to go through all of this. It's been extremely difficult. But the good news is that, as I said, our people is very resilient, very determined, and thank God we still have good friends around the world that could believe in international law, believe in fairness, believe in justice, believe in dignity, and we're sure we will get there. So I will want to end, if I may, also to say a big thank you to all our partners, but most importantly for our people, especially for our people in Gaza.
Mr. Prime Minister, thank you so much for sharing your perspectives here at such a pivotal time. And I really hope that the current efforts can really bring us to peace as rapidly as possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you.